Hi, Cherry.
Hey, how are you doing, Carter?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fine. um, Thank you so much for speaking with me. I have a few brief questions about your work on the morning show.
Sure.
So, one of the things that I'm curious about is what is your process for creating the music for the show, composing for the show?
Well, the biggest part honestly happened when working basically on the pilot for the first episode. So that's like trying to find what's the feel of this show, what's the tone, what instruments are we using, and things like that. And that really took quite a while. A lot of back and forth between me and Carrie, Aaron, and Mimi Leader mostly. And then once we've got that, uh, and we've got some themes that everybody likes for the different characters, then it's more about, okay, so what is this episode about? Like, what's the main thing we're trying to accomplish in this episode? And then of course in the second season that we just completed, new characters come in. So okay, we've got some themes for them and sounds for them and things like that. That's basically how we approach it.
Do you get a chance to look at a script and they sort of tell you if they want it to be a crescendo or more in the background? I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, but
It's okay. Um, I saw the scripts maybe for the first half of the second season, and and then event because they actually didn't have, like, for instance, the ending wasn't known, or at least they sure didn't let me know. And when they started, it was kind of a secret. Um, and then as the scripts come along, as we work our way through the season, they give me more scripts. And yeah, we have a thing called a spotting session where me and the showrunner uh, get on Zoom because I'm on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast, and we go through the episode. And we say, yeah, like, we need music here. What's it supposed to say? What are we, getting at? And yeah, with this particular show, it's, there's always a lot of energy. There's just always a tremendous amount of energy. And the show is always shifting gears a lot. And the music has a lot to do with that. Like, here we want to suddenly shift in this direction, or suddenly shift in this direction. And a lot of it, the music has to do with kind of surprising the audience and making those surprises work emotionally.
what was the most difficult scene to compose for in the first season and the second season? I have a good idea, but I want your viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, having just done the second season, it's easier for me to answer it there. I have to cast my mind back because the first season was really a while ago by now, because of COVID that kind of stretched things out. Um, uh, first season, probably it was the very ending, because the whole idea was that it had to feel like everything is kind of blowing up, and but you have to still feel emotionally connected to the characters, and a lot of the characters are going off in different directions. You can't follow any one of them because Alex is doing one thing and it means one thing to her, it means a different thing to Bradley, a different thing to Chip. They're all, have their own trajectories, and at the very end of the first season, they're all just like shooting off like fireworks, and yet the music has to be cohesive and kind of make it all make sense. So it can't be four different things. So that was a hard one. That whole last season episode there was very challenging.
Mhm,
But for this season, it was definitely Mitch's death.
mhm.
Right, because it's, he doesn't commit suicide exactly, but it's also true that he probably could have avoided dying. And so the music has to take you into his mind. You've got this whole little car ride that he's on where the music has to take you into his mind and have you explore his thoughts such that it's believable that he's in that state of mind where letting go of the steering wheel is the right answer to his life problems. So yeah, that was the hardest one. I love a big challenge, and that was probably the big challenge here.
Now, with the music, I feel it built on the characters, and I could tell what music went with what characters, even if I was in the other room. Do you
Right.
have like, I guess, a music board or a sound board to keep track of who what music goes with what person, and if there's an instrument that is sort of like a signature instrument for each person?
What I do is I don't know if I have any of them lying around here. I put my music on paper, just like it was a piano piece for anybody who plays piano. And I say Bradley's theme, Alex's theme, Alex's empathy theme, Alex's, forceful theme, and I write those all up because yeah, it's especially when you're in the second season, new characters are coming in. It it just helps me to keep track of all the things that you're just describing. Yes, so I have them all written down, and I can say, oh, what's happening here? Oh, I got to get Bradley. And but then in terms of their sounds, we right from the beginning, we sort of felt we needed to distinguish Alex and Bradley. And Alex, piano worked very well for her because it's kind of a cool sound. It can be empathetic, but it's also basically a cool tone, and that worked for her. And Bradley, we wanted to be somehow very different, so we mostly go with guitar for Bradley. But then sometimes we mix it up. It has a lot to do with what's happening in the particular scene. And Bradley's character, for instance, in the first season is very aggressive a lot of the time, and less so in the second season. So it's they do change and they evolve, and the sounds evolve with them.
Now, I like the opening for the morning show. To me, it sounds sort of like a poppy jazz. Did you listen to other morning show themes from current shows and from the past to sort of get an idea of what sound you want it to have for the show opening scene?
Well, for that opening title scene, that's not actually my music. That's a song that they found that they put there. So that's not mine. For the show within the show, the actual morning show within the show, that theme is mine. And yes, I looked at what other morning shows have. Most morning shows are very light, and our theme is a little not quite as light and fluffy as a lot of them, because what's going on, of course, is rarely light and fluffy. So ours is, the theme I wrote for it is a little bit, how should I say it? It's got a little more heft, a little more emotional heft, say, than your average morning show theme.
Now, what are your influences as a composer?
Well, that's throughout my career, there've been different ones at different times. It's not like I have a set. When I was just starting out, I think Ennio Morricone was a big influence, his spaghetti Western scores, because back then I could only afford 3 or 4 instruments, and those spaghetti Westerns are show you that if you choose the right 3 or 4 instruments that maybe nobody has ever put together before, you can create a very iconic sound that people will remember. And then at other times when I was starting to write orchestral music, Bernard Herrmann as a big influence on me there. It varies. Basically, I'm always looking for new things to listen to, and so it's just always changing.
What's the most unusual instrument you have used for the morning show, or even throughout your career as a composer?
Well, in the morning show, there have been times when, for the sake of pace and percussion and stuff, I've just used things like a cardboard box, sometimes, because it had the right dryness to it. But I think probably this season it's worth saying that in episode 7, which is the one that takes place entirely in Italy, we did try to kind of make it sound Italian, without being obvious and without being silly about it. But we had mandolins and upright bass. Well, it's upright bass actually through the whole score, but we did try to go sort of Italian-ish with the score to that episode, which took us a little in a different direction than we normally go. In my whole career, my gosh, I don't know. I did this movie called Raising Arizona, and I know we used vacuum cleaner hose at one point where if you spin it, the hose itself around your head, you get this very interesting sound. And we use pots and pans. In that score, there all kinds of things, yodeling, and comb. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you name it.
I remember seeing that movie. It was hilarious. And I enjoyed the music. I didn't realize that's what the sounds were since I'm not
Yeah,
a
how would you? I know, yeah.
person. Um, but what's the difference between working in film and on a TV show, especially a streaming service? I would assume that gives you more freedom and more time. But then I thought probably with a TV show, it's a little bit more compact because you have to hit certain times to get things ready.
It's pretty different. I mean, certainly, you're right. The way the schedule works is different because, for one thing, with television, like, say we worked on between a 1 and a 2 week long schedule per episode. It was something in between those, and and as soon as you finish, but the difference is, as soon as you finish one, you can't say, "Oh, that's good. Now I can go, like, and relax with my family." It's you've got to start the next one because the clock is just constantly ticking. Whereas in film, it's a longer schedule. You have a couple of months, but when it's done, you've finished this big thing, and indeed, it's kind of finished. You go to a completely different phase of the project, like making the album or things like that. Television, it just feels like it's such constantly going. But to tell you the truth, the biggest difference isn't really with the schedule. It's that, in film, when you make a feature film, it's sort of one big idea with a very particular beginning, a very particular ending, with a journey you go through to get from the beginning to the ending. And as a composer, I have a very definite sense of where I want to go during that, how the music's going to develop and bring us to a satisfying conclusion. Whereas with episodic television, there isn't really an end. I mean, each show has an end, but a lot of those ends aren't supposed to feel satisfying. They're supposed to make you want more, So, and then even at the end of the season, if that's an ending, but again, both with the first and the second season, they're also not supposed to feel like completely concluded. It's an open question. Well, will there be another season? I don't know. So it's just very different dramatic structure. And I'd say I'm only just still getting used to it. I feel like this year I finally got a sense of how to handle that, but not knowing how things actually end or if they end is very different.
Now, with COVID, how did that affect your creativity and your working with the other, producers and the directors and the other players, musicians?
Not that much. You might be surprised, but partly because I live on the East Coast and they're on the West Coast. In the first season, I would fly out a couple of times to go have meetings with them, just so we could get to know each other. But that's very expensive to fly me out there just to get to know you. So even in the first season, we ended up doing Skype and things like that to talk a lot of the time. And as a composer, I basically mostly work by myself in this room, which is in my house. So I'm not actually interacting with other people physically that much. It's just the life of a composer. So it didn't really change my life that much. It's true that when you get together with musicians, it was complicated, but the type of musicians that we use on this, they can wear masks. It's not a problem playing bass and piano, and I play the piano myself. It really didn't honestly make that much of a difference compared to on the set. Of course, it makes a huge difference, but for what I do, not that much.
Now, one of my other questions is, you've been in this career for a long time. Not that you look very young. But how has technology really changed composing and working with other people? Because I see you have those speaker thingies on your ceiling, which look like they're kind of like a new technology thing. Because I remember my grandparents played instruments and they had like these old fashioned ones that were on the ground that were like these big black things. And now they've changed so much that they're almost the size of a book.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's certainly true. Technology is always changing. I happen to I'm a techie type of guy, so I like all of that, and it it rarely frustrates me until it doesn't work. But basically, I like the changes, and it makes it possible to do things like, turn out all this music in a week or a week and a half, thanks to the computers and things that we have. So yes, it's definitely changing all the time. Yeah, the speakers you see here, this is actually a normal what's called a surround sound system. So those are the rear speakers, and then I have speakers back in the front of my studio. I don't know if you can see them, but anyway, but that's and now the new thing is called Atmos, where you actually put speakers in the ceiling, and like you can have like 50 speakers if you want in those systems. Yeah, so it's changing all the time, and the things that people need us to deliver change as the technology changes. But I don't know. I personally, I like it. I think it's great. It is very different. That's right. When I started, people were working with actual film and actual recording tape, and now everything is bits. But yeah, I think it's great.
Now, how will you be spending your quote unquote winter break now that we have concluded the season 2 of the morning show? Are you working on any movies? Are you going to enjoy your holiday season?
I am going to enjoy my holiday season. I mean, you can probably imagine for me, the morning show is actually completed back in the summer, and or maybe September. And since then, I did a movie with Lena Dunham, and just recorded a mix out a week ago. So that'll come out sometime next year. And I have prior to the morning show, I did a film, a version of Macbeth, where Denzel Washington is Macbeth and Fran McDormand is Lady Macbeth, and that's coming out Christmas Day. So because of the long schedules and things, I'm kind of working all the time. But yes, I have the holidays off, which is great.
I'm very excited about Macbeth. I saw a little preview of it, and it just looks fascinating. And I can't wait to hear about the Lena Dunham movie once they sort of release screenings for that. I know we're almost at the end. Do you have a dog? Because I heard like a bell or a leash or something.
Do I have what?
A dog?
Oh, I do. Is he making sound? I do have a dog. Yes, I do have a dog. He's yes. He doesn't act. He doesn't like to actively. He's shy. He doesn't want to actively be in the interview. But I do have a dog in the room. Yes.
That must really help with your creativity. I know when I was a kid, I used to love our dog, playing with him and while doing my homework. And I guess your work is your homework because you do it at home.
It is homework. That's right. Yes.
One final question. Do you have any holiday music? And is there a way for me to hear any of your holiday composed music? Because this is when I start playing my holiday stuff at home.
I mean, have I written holiday music? I don't think I ever have written any holiday music. No, actually. No, I haven't.
No. Everybody, I mean, look at Mariah Carey, that Christmas song makes her a mint of money every year.
That's right. No, it's guaranteed commercial success if you can put out. Yes, that's right. Christmas song. We need a good Thanksgiving song. We don't really have any great Thanksgiving song. So that's right. That's what I should be working on right now is a great Thanksgiving song. But
that would be great. Thank you so much for speaking with me. Congratulations on your work on the morning show. And of course, one of my favorite films growing up, Raising Arizona. I meant to ask you about some of your other projects, but I didn't want to. I have such a short amount of time to talk with you. But thank you again for speaking with me. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And thank you.
Same to you. Thank you.